Brutus Brutless Neil.
Speak hands for me.
Ah! Et tu Brute, then fall, Caesar.
In 44 BCE, Julius Caesar's death marked the beginning of the Roman Empire, which lasted until 476 CE.
The Roman Empire in the year 44 BCE occupied the territories around the Mediterranean Sea except for northwest Africa, Egypt, Palestine, and the Sinai Peninsula.
The Roman Empire was characterized by an autocratic government, which is a system of government in which political power is held by a single individual. In the case of the empire, the emperor fulfilled this position. The emperor's powers was based on the virtues of the tribunal powers and the proconsular powers. Tribunal powers allowed him the authority over the civil government, including the power to control the Senate. Proconsular powers gave the emperor the authority over the Roman army. The emperor was allowed to declare war, ratify treaties, and negotiate with foreign leaders. When the first emperors started their reign, legislative, judicial, and electoral powers switched from the Roman assemblies to the Senate.
The Senate was composed of about 600 magistrates and ex-magistrates, who served for life. Because the emperor was in control over the Senate, they acted as a vehicle for the emperor to exercise his powers. Emperors could not rule without the senatorial order and the equestrian order. The most important offices and posts in the government were reserved for people in these hereditary classes. The Senate held the most prestigious position, and their sons in the senatorial order were required to follow the cursus honorum. The cursus honorum, which means course of office, is the order of offices that politicians held in the early time of the empire.
Agriculture and trade were the main economic activities in the Roman Empire. Trade often occurred through Mediterranean seaports. There was also interregional trade between the Roman Empire and Han China via the Silk Roads. The empire used the barter method, but mainly had a coinage system. Olive oil and wine were the main exports.
The Roman Empire's main religion was Greco-Roman. This religion was polytheistic and based off Greek beliefs. Even though the empire was Greco-Roman, they were tolerant towards other religions.
Like religion, another important aspect of the Roman Empire was social life. At the beginning of the empire's rule, the males had to register for the census. Each male had to declare his family, slaves, riches, and children. Otherwise, his possessions would be confiscated. Women were always to be guarded by a male figure. The father would be the guardian until she was married, then the husband took over. Women received very minimal educations. Only daughters of aristocratic families would continue their education past the basics. In the 12 Tables, a primary source written in 451 to 450 BCE, it states that our ancestors saw it fit that females, by reasons of levity and disposition, shall remain in guardianship, even when they have attained their majority. The 12 Tables is a code of law which the Romans obeyed by.
Slavery was also an important part of society. Romans used chattel slavery, but they viewed the slaves as human beings, and killing one was murder. Slaves were taken from conquered foes and from the barbarian realms outside the border.
Ow!
Some slaves worked in houses and others worked in industrial production. Slaves could buy their freedom from their masters and were allowed to have small part-time jobs.
The center of Roman social structure was the family unit. The paterfamilias was the head of the family. He was the eldest male. He had a total control over the rest of the family and the family's slaves.
The clothing people wore indicated their social class. The plebeians, common people, wore rough tunics. The patricians had linen and white wool, which were considered a better quality. Togas were typically worn by men, and the women wore stola.
Romanus locutus Latin. Just kidding. Silly binshine. Latin's for Romans.
The Roman Empire developed and invented the most advanced technology in its time. Devices were commonly made more efficient, such as the water wheel and improvements to the wagon. The Romans would also use the water power as their source of power for corn milling, sawing timber, and crushing ore. The Romans were great builders of aqueducts, amphitheaters, and bridges. An example of one of the amphitheaters built is the Colosseum in Rome, which is still standing today. It was the largest amphitheater built in the Roman Empire.
They also improved roads, sanitation, and construction. Romans would use cranes for construction work and loading and unloading ships at the seaports. The technology used in military ranged from the soldiers' equipment to siege engines. Some of the siege engines included ballistas, scorpions, and onagers. Other technologies and inventions developed by the Romans included force pumps, crank handles, hypocausts, sundials, and many more.
In 27 BCE, Augustus Caesar became the first emperor of Rome. During his reign, he conquered all of Western Europe and northern Africa except for Mauritania. In 23 BCE, Augustus became very ill, bringing the problem of succession to the forefront of political issues. He died on August 19, 14 CE, while visiting the place of his father's death in Nola.
The Pantheon was built in 25 CE as a temple to the gods of ancient Rome. It is characterized by a large oculus in the center of the ceiling.
Claudius, who ruled as the emperor of Rome from 41 CE to 54 CE, constructed infrastructure all over the empire like roads and aqueducts. He launched a military campaign into Britain.
After Claudius came the infamous Nero. Nero was known for burning Rome in 64 CE and fiddling idly by as the flames consumed the city. He persecuted Christians and was said to burn them in his garden at night as a source of light.
In 79 CE, disaster struck. Mount Vesuvius, an active volcano near Naples, Italy, erupted, covering the city of Pompeii in ash.
20 years later, in 99 CE, a new emperor rose to the throne. Marcus Ulpius Nerva Trajanus Augustus was an adopted heir. Trajan guided Rome to its greatest extent. He is known for his public building projects. In 117 CE, the Roman Empire stretched from England and Morocco in the west to Mesopotamia and Egypt in the east. The Mediterranean Sea was a Roman lake.
The 14th emperor, Hadrian, received the empire after its height, but lost Mesopotamia and Armenia. He is best known for constructing Hadrian's Wall, marking the limitation of Roman power in England.
Septimus Severus rose to power in 193 CE and created a military dictatorship. He re-expanded the Roman Empire to almost the size it was at its high point.
How did the Roman Empire cut into two?
I don't know. How?
With a pair of Caesars!
Gemzy, let's get serious. In 285 CE, Diocletian split the empire into east and west. The capital of the Western Empire was Rome. Constantinople, founded in 324 CE by Constantine, was the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire.
In 313 CE, Emperor Constantine and Licinius signed the Edict of Milan. This edict allowed religious freedom throughout the Roman Empire.
In 359 CE, the capital moved from Rome to Constantinople in the Eastern Roman Empire. In 410 CE, the Visigoths sacked Rome. This is the first time since 390 BCE that Rome has been in the hands of an enemy.
Even though the Byzantine Empire continued on in the east, in 476 CE, the Roman Empire in the west came to an end. Aw, that's sad.
We hope you enjoyed learning about the Roman Empire. We hope you like it nearly as much as Mr. Benshine loves the Mongols.
Consider this the fall of the great Roman Empire. With the lead in our blood, we fall to the ground. Derailed and dizzy, but at least we're keeping ourselves busy. 'Cause idle hands are the devil's friend. We're moving faster now than we've ever been before. We're moving fast, but we want more. Consider this the end of your great Christian nation. We'll always say that we thought it would last. With our heads in the clouds and our feet in our mouths, make a joyful noise and it's pretty loud, pretty fucking loud. Moving faster now than we've ever been